Poor single dad. Let a strange girl stay for one night, unaware she was a millionaire's daughter. The rain had a rhythm, a relentless drumming against the thin windowpane of the workshop. For Liam Hargrove, it was the sound of money dissolving. Each drop that found its way through the aging roof felt like a coin stolen from his pocket, landing with a soft plink in the bucket he'd strategically placed next to the half-finished rocking horse. At 32, Liam's life was a testament to beautifully crafted things that didn't pay the bills. He was a carpenter, a restorer, an artist who spoke the language of wood. His hands, calloused and stained, could coax a story from a splintered antique or shape a block of raw oak into a child's dream. His workshop, fragrant with the scent of sawdust, linseed oil, and old timber, was his sanctuary. His reality, however, was a constant, nerve-shredding calculation of what he could afford versus what his 7-year-old daughter Chloe needed. Chloe was the sun around which his weary world revolved. She was a whirlwind of bright questions, messy paintings, and a smile that could temporarily patch any leak, literal or financial. Her artwork, vibrant, chaotic explosions of color, was the only decoration on the stark walls of their tiny apartment above the workshop. They were a team, navigating a life of secondhand clothes and macaroni and cheese, rich in love and perilously poor in every other conceivable way. This Tuesday evening was particularly bleak. A big commission, a custom library for a wealthy client, had been canceled at the last minute, leaving a gaping hole in his budget where the rent money was supposed to be. The rejection stung worse than a splinter. "We've decided to go with a more minimalist European aesthetic," the email had said. Liam translated that to, "We found something cheaper made of particle board." He swept the floor. The rhythmic scrape of the broom, a poor substitute for the creative work he craved. After tucking a sleeping Chloe into her bed, kissing her forehead, and inhaling her familiar scent of strawberry shampoo, he put on his worn jacket to make a late-night run to the all-night convenience store. They were out of milk, and the thought of Chloe waking up to dry cereal was a small misery he couldn't bear. The storm had intensified. The wind howled through the narrow streets, turning umbrellas inside out. He huddled under the flimsy awning of a closed bakery, waiting for the light to change, when he saw her. She was standing at the bus stop across the street, a solitary figure drenched in the neon-slick darkness. She wasn't dressed for the weather, wearing only a thin, stylish-looking blazer and jeans, both soaked through. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and she clutched a leather portfolio to her chest as if it were a life raft. She was shivering, not just trembling, but convulsing with a deep, violent chill that was visible even from across the street. Liam's first instinct was caution. He was a father. The city was full of dangers. But as he watched, she fumbled in her pocket, pulling out a sleek, modern phone. Her fingers, clearly numb, struggled with the screen. She let out a small, sharp cry of frustration, and the phone slipped, crashing onto the wet pavement with a sickening finality. She stared down at the shattered screen, and her shoulders slumped in utter defeat. In that moment, she wasn't a threat. She was just someone at the end of their rope. He saw a flicker of Chloe in her, the same look of desolate disappointment a child gets when their favorite toy breaks. His fatherly instinct, stronger than any sense of self-preservation, took over. He crossed the street, the wind whipping at him. "Excuse me," he said, his voice gentle so as not to startle her. She looked up, her eyes, a startling, intelligent blue, widened with alarm. She took a half step back, clutching her portfolio tighter. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said quickly, holding up his hands. You look like you're freezing to death. The buses have probably stopped running in this weather. Do you have somewhere to go?" She shook her head, unable to speak through her chattering teeth. My phone. I can't call anyone." "Okay," he said, making a decision that his logical mind screamed was insane. "Look, I live right there, above that workshop. It's not much, but it's warm and dry. My daughter is asleep upstairs. You can come in for a bit, get warm, use my phone, no strings attached." She stared at him, her gaze analytical, searching his face for any sign of deceit. She saw only the weary lines around his eyes and an expression of genuine concern. "Why?" she whispered, the word barely audible over the storm. Liam shrugged, a faint, tired smile on his face. Because I have a little girl, and I'd hope if she were ever in a situation like this, a stranger would be kind. That seemed to be the key. Her posture relaxed infinitesimally. She gave a small, defeated nod. He led her back across the street, unlocked the door to his workshop, and ushered her into the warm, sawdust-scented air. He immediately went to the small kitchenette in the corner and put a kettle on the ancient stove. "I'm Liam, by the way," he said, his back to her. "Aria," she replied, her voice still shaky. He turned and handed her a thick, clean towel from a stack he kept for staining wood. "Here, dry your hair. I'll find you something to wear." He ran upstairs and quietly grabbed one of his old, soft sweatshirts and a pair of sweatpants. When he came back down, she had taken off her drenched blazer and was gently dabbing at her portfolio with the towel. The portfolio itself looked expensive, made of soft, dark leather, now water-stained. "Here," he said, offering her the clothes. "The bathroom is just through there. You can change." She disappeared, and Liam busied himself making 2 mugs of tea. When she re-emerged, she was swimming in his clothes, looking small and fragile. The shivering had subsided slightly. He handed her a steaming mug, and she wrapped her cold hands around it as if it were a sacred object. "Thank you," she said, finally looking him in the eye. "You really didn't have to do this. It's just tea and a dry room," he said, sitting on one of his work stools. "What happened out there?" She hesitated. "I had a fight with my father, a bad one. I walked out. I thought I could. I don't know what I thought. I just needed to get away. I realized I didn't have my wallet, just my phone, and then..." She gestured towards the street. "It was stupid." Liam nodded, not pressing for details. He understood family fights. "Do you want to use my phone? Call a friend? A cab?" She shook her head. "There's nowhere else to go tonight. Everyone I know, they're his friends, not mine. They'd just call him. I'm not going back there tonight." The unspoken question hung in the air between them. He thought of the single, lumpy couch in his living room. He thought of his sleeping daughter. He thought of the 1,000 ways this could go wrong. And then he looked at her, this girl who was clearly running from something that scared her more than a stormy night on the city streets. "You can stay on the couch," he said, the words coming out before he could stop them. "Just for tonight. It's not comfortable, but it's safe." A wave of relief so profound it was almost visible washed over her face. I don't know how to thank you, Liam." "Get some sleep," he said. "Things always look better in the morning." Later, as he was about to head upstairs, he found her standing in the middle of his workshop, her tea forgotten. She was running a hand over the smooth, curved back of the unfinished rocking horse. "Did you make this?" she asked, her voice filled with a quiet awe. "I'm working on it," he said. "It's for a client's nursery." "It's beautiful," she said, tracing the grain of the wood. "The lines, it's so simple but so perfect. It feels alive." Her words hit him with a surprising force. People rarely noticed the details, the life he tried to breathe into his work. They saw a piece of furniture. She saw the art within it. "Thank you," he said, feeling an unaccustomed warmth spread through his chest. The next morning, Liam woke early to the smell of coffee. He crept downstairs to find Aria in his small kitchen, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, pouring hot water into his old French press. She had found his stash of good coffee, the one he saved for special occasions. "I hope you don't mind," she said, offering him a hesitant smile. "It was the least I could do." Just then, Chloe padded into the room, rubbing her eyes, her pink pajamas rumpled from sleep. She stopped short, her eyes wide as she took in the stranger on their couch. "Hi," Aria said softly, kneeling to Chloe's level. "I'm Aria. Your daddy was very kind and let me stay here last night because of the storm." Chloe looked from Aria to her father, who gave her a reassuring nod. "Are you a princess?" Chloe asked, her eyes fixed on Aria's striking face. Aria laughed, a genuine, beautiful sound. "No, I'm not a princess, but I like to draw. Do you?" Chloe's face lit up. "I'm the best drawer in the whole world." For the next hour, while Liam made pancakes, he watched as Aria and Chloe sat on the floor, heads bent together over a piece of scrap paper. Aria, using one of Chloe's stubby pencils, showed her how to draw a horse that looked like it could gallop right off the page. He hadn't seen his daughter so captivated by anyone but him in a long time. Later, as Aria was getting ready to leave, dressed in her own now dry clothes, she paused at the door. "Liam, I can't repay you for your kindness, but I want to." "Don't worry about it," he said honestly. "I'm just glad you're safe." "No," she insisted. She looked around the workshop, her gaze lingering on the fine craftsmanship evident in every piece. "You're an incredible artist. You shouldn't be struggling." He gave a wry smile. "Being a good artist and being a successful one are two very different things." "Maybe," she said, her blue eyes intense. "But talent like this deserves an audience." She scribbled something on a piece of paper. "This is my number. Please let me help." He took the paper, assuming he would never use it. She thanked him one last time, gave Chloe a small wave, and walked out into the bright, post-storm morning, leaving behind only the lingering scent of her perfume and the intricate pencil drawing of the horse, which Chloe immediately declared a masterpiece. A week passed. Life returned to its normal, stressful rhythm. The canceled commission still loomed over him. He was behind on his rent, and his landlord, a man with no appreciation for the art of carpentry, had made that fact abundantly clear. Liam stared at the piece of paper with Aria's number on it a dozen times, but his pride always won out. He wasn't a charity case. Then, on Friday, he got a phone call. "Is this Liam Hargrove, the furniture maker?" A woman with a crisp, professional voice asked. "Yes. My name is Eleanor Vance. I'm the curator for the Sterling Foundation's new design initiative. We are looking for local artisans to feature in an upcoming exhibition, The Art of the Home. We've seen some images of your work and we're exceptionally impressed. We'd like to schedule a visit to your workshop." Liam was dumbfounded. The Sterling Foundation was a titan in the worlds of art and architecture, founded by the real estate mogul, Marcus Sterling. How could they possibly have seen his work? "I don't understand," he stammered. "How did you find me?" "A submission was made on your behalf by a patron," Eleanor said smoothly. "A Ms. Aria DeLuca." Not her real name, he guessed. A wave of confusion, gratitude, and a strange sense of betrayal washed over him. She had done exactly what she said she would. The visit was a blur. Eleanor Vance, an impeccably dressed woman with an eye for detail as sharp as any chisel, walked through his workshop. She didn't see the leaks or the old tools. She saw the seamless dovetail joints, the hand-rubbed finishes, the soul he poured into his craft. She commissioned the rocking horse on the spot for the exhibition and asked him to submit 3 more pieces. The advance she offered was more money than he'd made in the last 6 months. It was enough to cover his rent, fix the roof, and buy Chloe the new winter coat she so desperately needed. 2 weeks later, he was at the glittering opening of the exhibition, held in a vast, minimalist gallery downtown. He felt utterly out of place in his one good suit, a glass of champagne he didn't want in his hand. His pieces were displayed on a raised platform under brilliant spotlights. People were gathered around them, murmuring in appreciative tones. He saw the red "Sold" sticker next to the rocking horse and felt a dizzying mix of pride and disbelief. Then he saw her. She was standing across the room talking to Eleanor Vance. She wore a stunning, simple black dress that screamed expense, her hair styled perfectly. She looked like she owned the room. She was no longer the shivering girl from the bus stop. She was a force of nature. As she turned, her eyes met his. She excused herself and walked towards him. "You came," she said, a nervous smile playing on her lips. "Aria DeLuca, I presume?" he said, his voice tight. She winced. "I'm sorry. I should have told you." "Told me what? That you were playing a game? That you were some rich girl getting a taste of how the other half lives for a night?" The words were bitter, fueled by a pride that felt deeply wounded. He felt like a project, a charity case. No," she said, her expression pained. "That's not what it was. Liam, please, can we go somewhere quiet?" She led him to a small, private balcony overlooking the city lights. "My name is Aria Sterling," she said softly. "Marcus Sterling is my father." The name hit him like a physical blow. "Of course." That night, she continued, her voice earnest, I wasn't playing a game. I was suffocating. I wanted to give you an opportunity, a stage. I wanted them to see your work on its own merit. And they did, Liam. They loved it. He looked at her, at the raw honesty in her face, and his anger began to dissolve, replaced by a slow dawning understanding. She hadn't pitied him. She had respected him. He quietly asked about her portfolio designs. She confirmed they were hers. They're good, he said, really good. Clean lines, but with warmth. A real smile, the one he remembered from the morning she'd had with Chloe, broke through. I was thinking, she said, her voice hesitant. A designer with a vision and a craftsman who can bring that vision to life with soul, we could be a good team. It wasn't a handout, it was a proposition, a partnership, an offer made between two artists, two equals. And in that moment, under the glittering city lights, Liam Hargrove felt the foundation of his life shift. The persistent, grinding fear of failure began to recede, replaced by the unfamiliar, brilliant light of possibility. He hadn't just let a stranger stay for one night. He had opened his door to a kindred spirit, and in doing so, had unknowingly opened a door to a future he had never dared to imagine.